Hi ladies and gentlemen, I am making a video here to show you Google Keep, a note-taking app embedded into Google Chrome that can be quite useful for your projects, both in our Persuasive Research Unit as well as in the future. And so I have here a couple of these death penalty articles that I feature in a couple of other videos. Of course, I have highlighted text with the Opposing Viewpoints tool, and down at the bottom I have those highlighted passages. However, for this video, I'm going to take a couple of things that aren't already highlighted just to avoid confusion. So Google Keep is represented by the yellow icon on the side here, as well as up in your browser. Now, the one up in the browser is not as useful. What you need to do, let's say that you want to take a note, and you're going to take a note right here, and I'm going to take this quote about essentially PTSD that happens to correctional staff members if they are working death row. So you can either, if you have right click enabled, you can right click, or you can hold control and left click, and you're going to bring up all of your options to cut, copy, paste, etc. since this is a Google Doc saved from Opposing Viewpoints. One of the things you can do is save to keep. We're going to click on this now, and we're going to save this quote about psychologists. So Keep's going to load here, and what we're going to do is we're going to be able to take this note. So we've got, here's my quote here, and I can even have a title for it, and I can have great quote about PTSD, right? Now I'm going to click Done. Now, let's say I want to get to Google Keep. One of the things I can do is go just open up Google, and if I click over here, in theory, it should pop up, and I could just go down to the Keep icon. And if I go to Keep, you're going to see that I already have a bunch of notes taken. So here's my note right here, but one of the things I've been doing is gradually building my paper. And so in my introduction, I want quotes. Let's say that I'm against the death penalty for the sake of this hypothetical paper. And one of the things I want to do is to start to gather quotes and cluster quotes by the different points I might make as paragraphs in the paper. So my introduction, if I want to go against the death penalty, I've got to establish that there's a problem with the current death penalty. One of those problems could be the PTSD thing that I talked about, but I've got a number of different quotes already selected, and I've decided that this kind of light purple / dark pink color is my introduction. Scrolling down, you could see that I have point 1, there are too many death penalty executions that end up being innocent people. And then I've got some more quotes down here. And Google Keep gives me the web link so that I can go back to the website if I want to. And then it's got whatever I highlighted from that article. If I saved it from Google Drive, then here you could see that I've got my quote from before. Here's my title, here's my quote, and then I can go back and it will open up that Google Doc again for me, and I'll be able to go and find more quotes down the road if what I selected initially was not what I actually want to put in my paper. So let's go back to this. Now there's a couple of cool things you can do with it. One, you can manipulate where this appears, so you can put it wherever you want with the other notes. And if you click up here, you can go to Grid View, and you could see a few more of your notes all clustered as you wish. So I've got my first point figured out. I've got a couple other points, but I haven't figured them out yet. They're just kind of hanging out in different colors here. I'm going to decide that this is a different point entirely. I've already used purple, green, and blue, as well as this kind of reddish color. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select dark purple, let's say, for this. And I could put it down at the end, and it'll be one of the last things in my grid or list view. So I go back to list view, and all of a sudden this quote is down here hanging out, waiting for me, and of course it didn't quite go down, waiting for me to figure out what that point is. And let's say I want to make a point, so then I can go up here and say that my title is point 3 or point A 3, and I'm going to say the PTSD suffered by correctional officers and executioners, if I can type and spell, executioners is a real challenge that makes the death penalty less appealing. So now I have this. I want to make it the dark purple color I had below. I'm going to go to grid view because it's a little bit easier. I'm going to drag it down until I get it next to the purple. And then all of a sudden I can have these notes set up so that every time I come across a good quote for this, I'll just save it. I'll make sure it's colored purple. I'll go into my Google Keep tab, colorize it, add a comment or two if I have to. And then when I go to write the paper, I'm not going through all these individual articles trying to find my quotes, or even if I've taken the notes and they've been self-selected at the bottom through opposing viewpoints, I can then convert these to Google Save to Keep, and it will put them there for my use later. And I don't have to open up article after article after article and become overwhelmed when I start to write my paper. And so once you get to a point that you know enough about your issue that you think that there's 3, 4, 5-ish points that you might put in your paper, it doesn't even have to be the actual final outline for your paper, but you could start going back through the sources that you found and selecting some quotes that will help with those points so that when you sit down and type your paper, you are not hunting through a pile of articles. You've already selected some options, and even if that option doesn't make it into your paper, it'll at least kind of give you a place to go back to if you have to, and it will also give you some more options. And so Google Keep is really good for that. There are some other features with this, but I think this is going to be the most helpful to you. You can add a collaborator if you had a group project, and you could add pictures if you have, let's say you're building a slideshow eventually. You might save some images into Google Keep, and then if you're done with your project, you can archive it, and your archive keeps track of old projects over here, so you can grab those notes again if you want to. And there's some more options: deleting notes, adding labels, drawings, etc., etc. And so this is just a really useful tool. I'd encourage you to start using it. And as you start really playing with your paper, I think you're going to find it to be very useful. So I hope that this gives you a little bit of a hint to be able to mess with this tool, and I will continue to help you with it. Of course, please email me at prhamilton@usd232, or we could set up a Zoom meeting, or if we're in school someday in the future, we could do a seminar or face-to-face. At any rate, I hope you find this video useful, and I'll talk to you later.